All right, I am starting to live stream again. There are a number of people that are live streaming from inside. As you can see, questions are being asked regardless of how he wanted it to happen. Things were getting a little hot. Thank you, Candy, for live streaming. It provided a lot of good information about how this is being set up to look like a town hall, but it is not. Again, it is not a public town hall. Public town halls would allow everyone inside, especially when there are empty seats, which there are plenty. All these people are constituents. They came with their IDs. They came ready in case there was space inside, and were left out. And we were left out even though there are a number of empty seats inside. Children were not allowed in with their parents. And at this point, what you'll be able to tell is that things are getting a little heated inside because people aren't accepting his answers. It has been almost 500 days without an actual town hall. 500 days until, 500 days it took for him to hold any kind of meeting like this. And again, we're not accepting this as a town hall. Yeah, we're not going to accept it. So again, I'm going to live stream. I'm actually going to look in a little bit. For the most part,
I'm done.
Can I speak with you about
Sure.
your experience? So, can you say your name for the record?
Bonnie Shock.
And Bonnie, what was going on inside? Can you describe to us what was happening?
A great deal of lying and of inability to listen, a complete unwillingness to actually have a dialogue, even when people are asking. Like, that's all people want in there, is to have a dialogue with him.
Yeah.
And for him to actually hear instead of just assume he knows the truth and that his truth is the only truth, and therefore we're all kind of dumb and can't actually understand the world around us without him explaining it to us.
Sure.
It's just simply infuriating.
Can you describe what the format's like inside?
It's extremely controlled.
Okay.
Staff were actually walking up to people who are attempting to have dialogue and standing over them really to intimidate them. I'm surprised there weren't police in there to do that. Yeah, you should talk with her as well.
I'm also going to talk with another individual.
You can
would
talk
you
to me
stick
again.
around?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
They wanted to hit the library, so we're going to go walk over there.
Oh,
Just
awesome.
tell Mom when we come out.
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, I'm actually going to talk to someone else.
I couldn't stay either.
You know what?
It's outrageous.
Do you mind if I interview you for Facebook Live?
You're Angie Craig's student.
Yes.
He was the one that asked the question.
So
We're
just,
some folks from
we just want to let you know you have
it's okay.
our, like, we just
Thank you
want
for
to
being in there and
express
asking
what's
and-
going on
and
today
asking our congressman to
because,
stand up.
so I'm Siri. I'm the Goody County DFL chair. So I just want to
Siri.
introduce myself.
Nice to meet you.
I know that things are getting quite heated inside, and so would you just let us know what's your name, kind of where you're from, and kind of back up a little bit? And
My name is Allison. I'm a science teacher in Goodhue County.
Wonderful.
And the congressman flat out seemed to be indicating, using non-scientific language, about hockey sticks and ClimateGate, that humans are not driving global warming, that he is uncertain about whether or not these temperature fluctuations are actually climate change, and that he will not support clean power legislation to push us in the direction of limiting our carbon emissions because he's uncertain. He's uncertain about something, and I don't know what that something is, but to look me in the eye and tell me that climate change is not being driven by global warming, climate change is not being driven by our carbon dioxide emissions, and that there's some scientists who are uncertain about this, it's a lie, and I'm done with lies.
yeah, and so I know inside the format, from what it looked like, they were very controlled. Can you describe a little bit about what it looks like inside for those that weren't allowed in?
I heard there was a count of about 65 chairs. There's only about half of the seats that are filled.
Okay.
And every time we tried to have an answer, if we had a question, he would try to answer. But then we weren't allowed to give any back and forth. And when people did, his staff came and talked to you and tried to shut you down because there's no.
So no dialogue.
Unless I stand up and yell really loud, which is what I ended up doing at the end when he lied to me. No. But it's difficult to ignore a teacher talking in their teacher voice, standing up.
I'm a
and-
teacher as well, so I completely get it. Well, and I know so there are a couple people that are live streaming and stuff, so I was able to kind of sense that things had devolved a little bit. Someone had mentioned questions being put on note cards. Is that the point that we're in right now?
So yes, they are doing questions from note cards, and he did take. I know the gentleman next to me was part of Northfield Indivisible,
Okay.
and one of his questions was asked. I don't know that there was a clear answer, but that's, I mean, typical politician speak.
Yeah. Well, thank you for agreeing to chat with me for a minute. I am putting this online, and I want people to know basically what's going on, that this is a sham. This is not a real town hall.
I think it had the potential to be better. Like if they continued this format and actually let us ask our questions, but I think mostly it was us. It was us taking the reins and refusing to participate in the sham part that made for
Sure.
both the tension and some of the good things that were starting to happen.
Thank you for coming out today, and if you want to stick around and hang out with us, we'd love to have you.
I'm feeling like going home. I have this horrible feeling that we're at the point where my face is going to be out there more than I would like.
I know. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So as you can see, there are members that have walked out of the town hall. Again, there are people that have walked out of the town hall due to the level of conversation that has been going on, being shut down on the floor, not being allowed to simply follow up their questions. But we've had a number of folks walk out. We're having another member walking out. And I'm going to follow up with just some people because I can see that. So I just want to
Mark, I'm sorry.
kind of point out this woman here has walked out. Would you mind talking to me a moment? It's okay, I know. So would you mind just telling me your name and...
It's Marge
Okay.
Murphy.
All right, and Marge, where are you
City.
from? You're from Lake
I'm
City?
actually from the D.C. area.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, I was really surprised at, I expected like a huge turnout and all.
Yeah.
Well, that's because it was restricted.
Well, and having empty seats. And there were people here that, and actually some friends of mine that do support him, that couldn't even get in because they didn't have their ticket. But
Sure.
You've got empty seats there. But it's
Well, so what was...
blood pressure.
We've had a number of people walking out, and so can you describe just what it's like inside? What's happening?
You know, it is getting tenser. The people that support him, are you saying language I want?
Yeah.
You know, he sounds like an arrogant son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You know, I've sent emails to him and gotten replies, but I've never actually heard him.
Sure.
His keepers that are hovering around anybody, when nobody's even expressing that they're upset that somebody's, you know, asking a question or saying something. I mean, I guess I could see if people were like, you know, no, be quiet, but
Yeah.
it's just...
Well, and that's kind of the third comment that I've heard from someone walking out is that essentially...
babysitters and you
Yeah.
know, telling people to be quiet, that they're not giving other people a chance. Well, you know, they're talking about some important stuff.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, he doesn't, I don't think, really want to talk to people. He
Sure.
wants to, you know, the climate stuff where he's telling the science teacher that he knows more and science isn't...
So mansplaining in a way.
Oh, God.
So one of the things that we're trying to really just get out there is that essentially this isn't a real public town hall because
No.
it is not public. You needed a ticket. You needed to be pre-selected, which we don't know how that process was really
Right.
done. There are empty seats. We've had children that were denied entry even though their parents were inside. There were people here that are constituents that showed up that were denied entry even though there is space, and we have our government IDs to prove we are constituents. And we're really just trying to put that out there that this isn't a real town hall. This isn't what we deserve as residents of the Second Congressional. We deserve a real representative that's going to sit and chat with us, and even if we disagree, at least it can be polite and not devolve into kind of banter and And
Yes, well, and his thing seems to be, security. There's security issues. That's why we have to do this. I mean, I think eventually they want us all living in a place with one door, and it's just.
thank you for talking to me. I know it's when emotions get kind of, and you're not the only one. I've talked to now two others, and if this is the theme of the day, if this is going to continue into the other 2 locations, I think it's pretty clear that the other locations are going to be similar, and that people should go into it expecting what was happening here today, that it wasn't all hunky-dory and,
Yeah, it's, he seems to think that if people get upset, it's because he doesn't agree with them. But I think it's also that he's not listening. I mean, I don't expect everybody to agree with me, but the attitude and with his keepers running around, it's
Sure. Well, thank you so
I did
much.
vote for Angie the last time, and I will be voting for her again.
Awesome. Well, and
Sure hope.
I think today it's, obviously many of us are supporting maybe other candidates, but really our point here today is regardless of who's in that spot, we all deserve representation. We all should have our voices matter and be heard, and locking people outside onto the sidewalk isn't.
Especially when there's room inside.
Yes. This isn't the way that things were designed. So again, thank you so much for coming, and I'm sorry that you had to
I wasn't
go through that.
expecting it to be a bad experience.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
A meeting I heard about.
Yeah.
That
Well.
everyone gets to be. You gotta be special, like in the Eagle Center to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're not. We're also not cool enough to be inside. We're the rabble rousers, apparently.
Hey, what's that?
So apparently they didn't want us inside either. So.
I live in this town, and
Do you mind if I interview you? Like briefly?
sure.
So I'm Facebook Living, just so you know.
Oh well.
So it was kind of a disappointment, huh?
No, I didn't have
Oh,
it.
okay.
But basically what we're doing is just talking to folks and letting them know that our point here today is just more to just let people know that this isn't a real public meeting. Everyone should be allowed inside. There are empty seats.
How did this get announced?
It was about 2 days ago that they said where the location was. But it was very, very quiet.
Because the Department of Agriculture, Department of Transportation has had to have public meetings, town halls, and announce it in advance so people have the opportunity to come. This is a public representative who has work to do, and we have a farm bill that hasn't been passed.
Yep.
And a pretty crummy farm bill, to say the least. But I received 6 paid for by taxpayer dollars from this guy, and called his staffers to get this off, and I live here, and I'm just really unimpressed.
So thank you for coming today. I'm gonna.
Well, I just learned about it actually from my husband.
Oh, good.
And
Been standing out here since the beginning, and they never let us in.
Yeah, I'm
why
gonna
is it being
Facebook.
hosted at the Eagle Center? Do you know that?
Most likely it was because they knew that they could kind of control the space a little bit differently, and I'm gonna actually interview a couple other folks. Thank you so much. So if people are just coming out, they want to do some interviews, kind of just takeaways. Hi guys.
Yeah, and so we want to just combine the pt2 with the opioid.
So you see, the event just got done. Hi. Can I interview you? Your daughter is just going to the library. She'll be back with Randy.
Oh, did she go?
She'll with Randy.
Okay.
Do you mind if
Probably getting bored.
Do you mind if I interview you over here? Just on Facebook Live. So, hi. So basically what I'm doing is I'm asking people to say who they are, where they're from, and then just kind of some takeaways from today, and come on in. So again, I'm gonna be, I don't think that works. I tried it. So if you could say your name, where you're from, and just general impressions, I'll just kind of go down the line.
Okay. I'm Candy Hebner. I'm from Red Wing. I did have a ticket. I had the inside scoop. I did Facebook Live. The thing that struck me the most was all the empty seats. And Jason made a point of saying that, well, there are all these empty seats, so people must not have wanted to see me. And a number of people in the audience shouted out that there were a lot of people standing outside who applied for tickets. And why didn't they get to fill those seats?
Good. Awesome.
Hi, I'm Jessie Nowak from Welch, and I feel almost as honored as the people who got a royal invite to the wedding this morning that I did receive a golden ticket, and I have to say it was the most interesting experience I've ever had with U.S. politicians. It was a very controlled meeting. I don't think he answered a lot of the questions that were asked, and I don't feel like he's representing everybody in the district. It was interesting that he pointed out a tracker that said that he was the most independent, or very, very independent in his support of the policies, and I just don't know that that's accurate. So he said a lot of things in there that were just factually incorrect.
Sure. One thing that I know your daughter is here with you today, and she was hanging out with us on the sidewalk, and one of the comments that we made was she was not allowed inside. When I told him that his mom was inside, the staff did not seem to care too much about that fact, and so literally they separated families because they went
Bonnie
along
can
an
address
elementary
it
student.
specifically that she requested from his staff a number of times that since there were constituents out on the sidewalk and lots of empty seats, could they be allowed in, and they were told no.
Yeah.
He cited security concerns.
So he cited security concerns. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know
I'm Bonnie Schock. I live in Red Wing, and if I had one takeaway, it is that my suspicion that I do not have representation that is willing to listen, even if we don't agree, in the United States Congress is confirmed, 100%.
And I know that you were so kind of upset with the town hall, you know, that you walked out. Can you tell me a little bit about that moment that you decided to just leave?
Well, I initially asked the congressman in the beginning comment period. There was 15 minutes of comments that were allowed at the beginning, and I initially asked him to actually have a dialogue with us. And when that wasn't happening, when every voice that was responding back, when most of the time it was either a respectful question or a counterpoint in some way, was denied or told that they were wrong, or by staff told to stop talking, it became clear that it wasn't a useful space for me, and it felt like a better statement to leave than to stay.
No, and thank you guys. Were you also inside? Do you mind? Oh, they went to the library with Randy. Of course. Do you mind telling me a little bit about your experience? I know you guys were both inside. How did you think? Your honest opinion. Can you say your name first?
Oh, hi. I'm Peggy Decker. I just attended the town hall. I'm really thankful that I had the chance to attend the town hall, and I'm sad that not everybody who wanted to attend could be there. I think that people asked good questions. They were very engaged and knowledgeable and wanted responses from our congressman. And I really hope that he does more things where he can hear from his constituents directly about how they feel about the issues of the day.
Sure. One of the main points that we're trying to hit home today is that this wasn't really a real public town hall, that it was ticketed. There were empty seats, that there were a number of people that wanted to go and weren't allowed in. We even had a child that was not allowed in, even though their parent was. And so we're really trying to hit that home. It's been almost 500 days since he took office, 500 days without any public town halls. And we're not going to be counting this as a public town hall because it doesn't constitute that by having tickets and having security with and not letting folks in, even though there is space. We don't consider it a public town hall.
I agree.
Would you mind being interviewed as well?
No,
Okay. Can you tell me your name?
Yeah, my name is Deirdre Fleshy. I'm from Lake City.
Sure.
And I did get a ticket to get in. I understand there were a lot of other people who couldn't get the ticket, and yet there were numerous empty seats in that facility. People commented on how they felt that it was very controlling, that it was not a dialogue. If people spoke up and his staff felt uneasy about it, they came up and stood over that person in kind of threatening way. It was a very controlled environment. Jason Lewis said that he did that on purpose because they were warned, that they needed to protect themselves. But my point is, if this Congress and this administration had not sown so much hatred and distrust in this country, they wouldn't be getting the reaction they're getting.
Sure.
And I think it's ironic that you can't carry a weapon in this building, but the Republican Party, including Jason Lewis, has done nothing to protect the public from out-of-control gun laws.
Sure. Thank you for speaking with me. I appreciate it. Hi. So I'm interviewing people. Would you mind saying a little word?
With me if you
Amazing.
like.
All right. So I know you were inside.
Yes,
Can you
I was.
tell me your name and kind of where you're from, and then just kind of takeaways?
Okay, my name is Dee Richards. I'm from Egan, and even though I requested a Lakeville ticket, I got a ticket to Wabasha and decided to drive the 75 miles because I thought it was important. What I think, if you're asking what I think about the town hall, I think it was a sham, an absolute sham, because there was no opportunity for dialogue. Obviously, people had a lot of questions, especially when he was talking about issues and saying things that were obviously untrue or people disagreed with. And if you tried to say, no, that isn't true, his staff would come running over and admonish you to be quiet because that was not being respectful. There was nobody that was disrespectful. Yes, people were speaking out because people were frustrated by what they were hearing, and people were frustrated by the entire process. And he tried to tell us that the process that he used for the lottery tickets was because of security concerns, but I think that is not a valid reason for what he did. There was no cause for alarm from anybody here. And yes, there was a lot of emotion in the room because people felt like they were really being managed and everything was they're being told exactly what to do, and you can have 3 questions and write them down and put your name and address on it, and it was all very controlled.
So you had to, in order to ask a question, you had to write it down.
We had to write it down. We were given 3 note cards, told to write down our question and put our name and address down on it, and then throw it in a box.
Sure.
None of us knew anything at all about the format of this. Yep. It didn't come out in emails or anything like that.
Sure.
So we didn't know anything till we got here. So write 3 questions, throw them in a box, and then the city council person, I guess he was, came up and did an introduction and said that people could get up and for 60 seconds say something.
So there was a city council member?
I guess he was a city council member.
Do you know if he was from Wabasha?
I don't remember his name or where he was from. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
But he said he volunteered. He said he volunteered to be here to help manage it. And he started off by explaining then, that you could, if you wanted to get up and say something for 60 seconds, you could say something, although there was no parameters given around what you were supposed to say.
Sure.
So that felt kind of strange. Yeah. And then he said that the congressman would make comments, and then he would draw questions out of the box, and the congressman would answer them. So there was really no opportunity for dialogue, and that was frustrating to people because even when people got up for that 60 seconds, there were some questions that were asked and comments that were made, and he said he would answer those before the Q&A. But as he was answering them, they were pretty much just a one-way dialogue. You know, it was basically repeating a lot of the same talking points that you hear over and over and over again that he writes down in his literature that he had up on his boards about all of the things that he's supposedly done in Congress.
Thank you so much. So I just want to make a point.
Why did you put more chairs in the window? I understand the venue could hold up to 300.
Well, there were lots of empty chairs.
Well, no, you can go ahead and find this out.
Let's ask about Wabasha right now, because there are people here who
I do have to run.
I know.
Can you explain why, like, Siri?
If somebody applied for Wabasha, they received a ticket.
Nope.
What's your name?
Both of us. My whole family.
I remember seeing 2 Everetts that applied for Jordan and 1 that applied for Lakeville.
No, I applied for all 3.
Okay, well, you were only allowed to apply for 1, and
It
so
didn't
only
say that
one.
on the form.
Yes, it did on the email.
On the form, it did not.
So on the form, who applied in Egan, she had to drive down here from Egan.
Yeah, and we spoke with her, and I can't speak to that one. We
I applied
processed
for
hundreds of
Wabasha
tickets. And I don't know how that one worked, unfortunately.
I think it's really important for you not to say that everyone who wanted a ticket got one, because that's not true.
In Wabasha, they did.
No.
That's all we said.
Actually,
That's the first one I chose.
You were on. Okay. Well, I saw your name on the list for Jordan. That's all I know.
I'm just suggesting you not.
My name is not on the list for Jordan.
Friendly suggestion.
I have the email.
We'll be
that says
listening
I
at the
was
next
denied.
events too. We'll be listening at the next
I have an
events.
email that says I was denied.
See ya. Thanks again. Sorry about that. Cool.
I'm going to go to Red Wing and get some donuts.
That sounds like a wonderful plan. Hanish Bakery. Although there's good food here too.
That's my reward for
There's
dealing with that for whatever hour long.
If folks want to get good food in this town too, there's Slippery's, Stacy's.
what's the distance to Lakeville?
Yeah, Eagle's Nest is really great. Thank you guys.
What time is he supposed to be there?
11.
Wait, Siri, what did you say? What should I get?
Okay, so there is
I'm gonna
a
hop on. Are you
little
filming
like
this, or are you just talking
I
about
am
it?
live
Oh, okay.
streaming. I've been live streaming the whole time. Oh, look, there's a friend. Oh,
We did
I'm gonna
it.
tag him.
We did it.
All right.
What's
So,
the address in Lakeville again?
it's at the
Okay, so
shoot. I can find it for you when I'm done. Here, I gotta.
Because I'm